Hi everyone, and welcome to your next adventure writing activity. So in this activity we're going to be thinking about creating the plot of an adventure story, a thrilling, epic tale that takes your reader to amazing new places. Now, normally in adventure stories the lead character or characters, if you want to have a pair or a group of people going on this adventure, they normally have something they want, a goal. Now that goal might be something external, like something they want to find, or it might be something internal, a way that they want to change how they feel about themselves. It might be that they've got something that they've left behind that they really want to get back to. But whatever their goal or their quest is, it's very rare in adventure stories that they manage to achieve it straight away. In adventure stories, part of the excitement for the reader is seeing the hero go through different obstacles, fighting different dangers, and discovering cool and exciting things along the way. Now, this kind of adventure story where the hero or the heroine has to undergo lots of different exploits and exciting trials on their way to their overall goal is really, really old. Think, for example, of the story of Hercules. Now, Hercules is an ancient Greek myth that is nearly 3,000 years old. In that story, Hercules has to undergo 12 labours with the eventual goal of trying to atone for his misdeeds. The labours that he has to do include things like slaying a hydra, stealing some golden apples, and cleaning out some extremely mucky stables. Or you could think of Sinbad the Sailor. Sinbad the Sailor is a hero of Middle Eastern folktales, and his exploits were most famously captured in the 1001 Nights. He's a famous mariner who underwent loads of different journeys. Some of his most famous stories include when he stayed on an island that actually turned out to be a huge sleeping whale, flying secretly on a rock, a huge mythical bird of prey, and becoming rich after discovering a valley full of diamonds, and then becoming enslaved, but getting free from, the old man of the sea. So, since ancient times, people have been telling stories of characters undergoing trials and tribulations on their way to reach a goal, creating epic adventure stories. And that's what you're going to be creating today. Now, the first thing that you need to think about for your adventure story is the setting. Where is it going to take place? Now, if you've already watched some of our videos with adventure writing challenges, you might have already started thinking about this. If you have no ideas at all and feel a bit stuck thinking of the setting, maybe you'll want to go back and watch some of those and do some of our activities together to create fantastical places where a story might happen. Or you might just like to go for it and get stuck in. Now, as a quick reminder, the setting for these adventure stories, they can be pretty much anywhere, as long as it's somewhere exciting. Now, your adventure could take place in a real setting. So it could be an actual city or country or continent, even an actual planet. It could be somewhere you visited, or it could be somewhere that you've just read about or watched about. Your setting could also be somewhere completely fictional, totally imaginary and made up. Now feel free to unleash your imaginations here and get as weird and wonderful as you like. Now your story, it could be like a science fiction story. It could be fantasy, it could be myth, it could be legend. We could be in an urban setting, an amazing city, or we could be out in the wilds in a landscape like an icy tundra or the desert or the jungle. We could be anywhere at all. The only rule though is if you're creating a setting from scratch, it has to be original, a brand new setting that nobody has thought of before. So your story couldn't be set in like Hogwarts. And it couldn't be set in Bogwarts or Higwits or anything like that either. It needs to be a totally new setting. Now, once you've started to think of an idea for a setting, we're going to map it out, to plot it out, capturing all that detail about it. Now, you may have already started doing this if you've really got into adventure writing. You might have made a map, or you might have physically made a setting using craft items, in which case you might like to skip this next step. But if not, we're now going to make a map of our setting. Or if you're doing like a building or a town or a city, it might be like a floor plan or a city plan showing what this urban setting looks like. But we're going to map it out with as much detail as possible. So at this point, you're going to need some pens to write with, maybe some pencils or drawing things to draw with as well, and you're going to need some paper to make your map on. You might even like to tea stain your paper first to make it look kind of antique-y and exciting. But once we've done that, you're going to map out this setting. So remember, on there you might include things like, where do your characters start the story? What is it they're trying to get to, if there's a particular place or thing that they're trying to get to? What kind of hazards are there in this setting? What kind of cool or interesting or intriguing things are there? Are there any resources that our characters need? Is there anything that looks interesting but actually turns out to be dangerous? Think of Sinbad and his island whale here. Or the other way around, something that looks dangerous but actually turns out to be quite cool. Now, you might have thought about quite a lot of this in advance, or you might just like to start drawing and writing and see what emerges as you do it. But you're going to create a map now full of loads of detail. And remember, you can use writing, but you can also use drawings, illustrations, annotations as well to bring this setting to life. Now, I'm going to do mine, so you can just take a look at what I mean by creating a map, but I want to make sure that you don't copy mine, and that's because I know that you are so much more imaginative than I am. Whatever you come up with, which is going to be completely original, is going to be so much better than my map. So just take a quick look at what I've done so you get the idea. After that, pause the video and then go and make your own map or your own kind of town or building plan that captures loads of amazing detail about the setting for your story. Okay, so now you should have mapped or plotted out your setting with lots of detail, lots of different features on there for the different things that are in that place. Now that you've done that, I want you to pick 3 things that are in that setting, 3 places. Now you could just pick them at random, that and that, or you might have some kind of plan. So it could be somewhere where you know your character starts the story, somewhere where you know they're going to get to in the end. Something that you know is a hazard or that they really need to get, or something that is kind of interesting or exciting in some way. It doesn't matter. Just pick 3 of those places that you mapped out on your map. Now, once you've picked 3 places, we need to get a fresh sheet of paper. So turn your paper so it's kind of landscape, like that. And then I want you to, and you don't need to use a ruler to do this, it can just be rough, but to roughly split it into 3 columns. So split that piece of paper into 3 columns, and then at the top of each column, I want you to write the name of the 3 different places that you picked from your map. And you might like to do them in the order that you think your hero or heroine is going to go to these places. So for example, in the left-hand column, the first column, you might like to put the place where you think they might go first, then in the middle column, the place you think they might go second, And then in the last third right-hand column, the place you think they're going to go last. But write those things at the top of the columns. Okay, once you've done that, let's start focusing on that first column, the left-hand column. Now, the first thing I want you to do, and this shouldn't fill up the whole space, we can just keep it small, is a little bit of description of what this place is like. Now, when I say description, I mean it a bit broader than that. You can do it how you want. If you want to just write words down, you could do that, a bit like a spider diagram. You could write a little bit of description, or you could do a little drawing showing that setting or some key features in it. But that's the first thing. Description through drawing or through words of that setting. Next, I want you to think about how your main character or characters feel when they're in that setting. What emotions are they having in that place? And perhaps, to make it exciting to the reader, they might be feeling a mix of emotions, maybe even emotions that are a little bit in conflict with each other. Now again, when you've thought about this, you can capture this in your column however you want to. You could write just simple words down to show how they're feeling. You could write a sentence of description, or you could do a drawing again, almost like an emoji, showing the expressions, the emotions that you think your character feels while they're in this setting. Next up, I want us to think about anything dangerous in this setting. Any hazards, anything that's worrying, anything that means that they get stopped from achieving your goal, anything that is a barrier to your hero or heroine getting to what they want to get to. So again, we could write, we could draw, but what kind of hazards, dangers, worrying things, red herrings, stuff that send them off in the wrong direction, what problems are there in this setting? And then finally, at the bottom of the column, I want you to write or draw or note down things that are positive in this setting, things that help the hero or heroine get to where they want to go. So maybe they find out a tiny little bit of new information. Maybe they see someone, they might not even meet them yet, who will become important. Maybe they get some resources that they need. Maybe they meet someone new. Maybe they just get a bit of a booster in how they feel about themselves. Whatever it is that's positive about this setting that is helpful, whether it's internal, affirming them, or external, something they need, note or draw that down at the bottom. Okay, so in your left-hand column now, you should have a bit of description about the place, a bit of description about how your character or characters feel when they're there, any dangers, hazards, problems, barriers in that place, and then any positive things, anything that help your character get towards their goal, take the next step on their quest. So now we've done that for column 1. As you might have predicted, you're going to repeat it for column 2 and then for column 3 as well. So again, for each one, you're thinking about those things. Description of the place. How does the character or characters feel when they're there? What hazards and dangers and barriers are in that place? And what positive or useful or affirming things are in that place? So draw or map that out in your next 2 columns. Okay, so at this point you should have done your 3 columns, and this means that you now have a really fully worked out plot for your adventure story. It's got it all there. It's got all the things that you need to keep your reader excited. It's got emotion, it's got description, it's got interesting gripping plotting, it's got the lot. So at this point, you might like to start writing your adventure story. Typing it or handwriting it down, telling us this amazing epic tale that your character or characters are going to go on. Now, whatever you've done, whether you want to start writing your story now or whether you've made an amazing map and a fantastical plan, we would love to see what you've come up with. If you're in one of our established writing groups, you could post your work onto your Seesaw journal. If you're accessing this another way, independently or through your school, we'd still love to see what you've come up with. If you like to, you can email us your work at grimapothecary@gmail.com, or you could post it on social media, tagging us at Grimm&Co. But we'd love to see what you come up with. Happy writing, happy drawing, and happy adventuring.